My name is Judy Ashley, and I am your host for this program about a unique group in our area that is making an immediate, direct, and positive impact in our community. The name of the group is 100 Women Who Care, Franklin County, and we are one of more than 400 chapters around the world and the first chapter in Vermont. Our mission is to provide financial assistance to nonprofit organizations that have a strong presence in and serve residents of our county. Our chapter meets for 1 hour, 4 times a year, and any member in good standing can nominate a local charity in advance of each meeting. At the meeting, 3 charities are randomly selected, and the members vote by anonymous ballot on which cause to support. Then each member writes a check for $50, and the collective donation is presented to the director of the selected organization. Today, we will meet a local nonprofit that was awarded funds through 100 Women Who Care, Franklin County, to learn more about them and how they use these funds. So welcome, Kris and Shannon. Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
Thanks. So Kris Lukens is our Executive Director for Voices Against Violence in Laurie's house. And Shannon McMahon is the Advocacy Coordinator at Laurie's house. Yes?
Yes, for Voices.
For
Yes.
Voices,
Yes.
for Voices.
Yep.
Okay, great. So if we could just take a minute and you could just maybe tell us a little bit about Voices and what you do and who you serve.
Sure.
And give
I'm
us a
glad
little
to.
background.
Well, Voices Against Violence, we've been around since 1980 in Franklin and Grand Isle County, so, but we have certainly grown. We are a program that provides services to victims and survivors of domestic and sexual violence and stalking in Franklin and Grand Isle. And that entails many different programs. So we have a shelter called Laurie's House, so we can provide housing for various lengths of time. Emergency housing. We have a transitional housing program, so we have actual apartments that we can provide ongoing assistance for up to 2 years and some services that go with that. We have a 24-hour hotline, so we are accessible 24/7, and people can call that hotline, and we have trained staff that answers that 24/7. We have a legal services program, and so we have a person that helps people within the court system if they want to get protection. For instance, with a relief from abuse order, we can help with that paperwork. We go to court with them and help support them through that process because it can be pretty intimidating for anybody, much less somebody who's been a victim. We have a children's program and works with kids in our shelter, but also we work with kids of moms that might be connected with Department of Children and Families or receiving services from other service organizations. And we also have a outreach position, an education position. Wish that were a little bit more because that work in the community is so vital to help increase access to our services for populations that are marginalized. So we really are working hard and partnering with programs like the Pride Center of Vermont or Migrant Justice with the Abenaki community to make our services a little bit more accessible for those folks, for instance. And we also do work in the schools. So we work with students that have an interest in our area, and we kind of Sophia, who's our outreach person, takes them under her wing and shows them the differences in the work that we do. She also does a lot of prevention and education in the schools. Then finally, we have a supervised visitation program, which we provide supervised visitation for families where domestic and sexual violence are issues, and so for the safety of the children. So in a nutshell, that's us.
That's a wide array of services. I had no idea it was so comprehensive.
We have certainly grown. There's no doubt about that. We have grown over the years. And when we see a need in the community, we work with our community partners to see if that's something that we can do.
And how many staff do you have?
We have 13 staff. Most are full-time, but then we do have staff that works our hotline after hours.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
So I know you're a member of 100 Women Who Care, Franklin County.
Yes, I am.
Can you tell us how you heard about it and a little bit about why you're involved?
Well, I think I actually heard about it from you.
We're hearing that a lot.
Yeah. Well, I think you sent an email out or something about that, but it was intriguing. I think I had heard about a similar type of program nationally, and so that kind of intrigued me. And I thought I really would like to get to know other women in the community, and so that we can talk about the issues that are facing Franklin and Grand Isle counties. And because I do donate to organizations that I feel strongly about, and I thought this would be an opportunity for me to do that in a way that makes sense, and that it's $50 4 times a year. I thought I can do that, and I feel like I can make a difference in my local community. So it worked out well. I really enjoy it.
Great. So you did receive funds.
Yes, we did.
And so I don't know if Shannon wants to tell us a little bit about maybe what is an advocacy coordinator? I think that's what I have, yeah. And a little bit about how the funds are going to be or are being used, the funds from 100 Women Care.
Yeah, so we do a lot of work directly with survivors, so working with the advocates directly about how we're doing that work with survivors and working directly in the shelter space. So the funding that we got from 100 Women Who Care goes directly to making our shelter more pet friendly and pet safe, because what we know about this work is people are less likely to flee if their animals are in danger, and we know that statistically their animals are just in just as much danger as they are, or they're being used for coercive control in their relationships. So it's very common that people are feeling like a barrier to leaving is leaving their pets, and they also feel like they can't leave the situation because there isn't any housing options in Vermont really for people that have pets, survivors that have pets that are fleeing. We, in our emergency housing program, we use like hotels in the area, and a lot of other agencies in the state do as well. So it's really hard to find hotels that will accept pets, and then it's really hard to have shelters keep safe and like pet friendly options. So and there's not a lot of funding for pet friendly options, so this fund is very explicitly going to help us keep pets and survivors safe. So that'll be really great. And that looks like being able to have correct pet supplies, be able to have correct safety gates, like pet cleaning supplies. A lot of the time survivors will use their own money for food to feed their pets when they're fleeing, so being able to have pet food at the shelter will be helpful for people to feel like they're adequately fed for the whole month. So just a lot of things will be helpful to create less barriers for survivors while they're fleeing, to make them feel like they're going to be able to successfully flee and not have to go back or worry about their pet being unsafe while they're fleeing. So
well, I know when you just recently presented to the 100 Women Who Care group about how you're using funds, and one of the things that struck me was when you talked about how this was having pets around was helpful for the kids.
Oh yeah, it absolutely is.
If you want to talk about that just a little bit, because I thought that was really something I hadn't thought about. I thought, well, I have a dog, and I wouldn't want to leave my dog behind.
Yeah.
But then I didn't think about the added advantage of having a pet there, especially with kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially with children, but also the adults. Like a lot of the times, pets are partners in like the violence they experience, so become really emotional support and healing. And a lot of the adults' healing patterns will be tied in with the pet. So a lot of the ways that they can find safety would be planning with the pet. So like finding ways to help with anxiety or triggering things while in shelter is helpful with the pet. So there's that side, but also when the adults bring the pets in, it really helps the children bond. We had a lot of children in shelter this summer, and they all came from really different demographics and backgrounds, because this county, it's such a spectrum of like wealth and class and everything like that. Rural, not rural, being in the city or being out of the city. There's just a lot of ways that people are different that come to shelter, and it's hard to find common ground immediately, especially when they're in a crisis situation. So a lot of the times the children might feel a little isolated from each other just because of when they get there, what they're immediately dealing with. And what we've found this summer, which was really interesting, was when they did have pets, they had like a mutual bond and a mutual thing to care for, or a mutual pet to care for, which was really nice. And also having that common ground just created like safety and like community for everyone in shelter and all the families, and the families would cook together more. They would have activities. It was really sweet and really nice, and I think it was helpful for not only the adults healing, but the children's as well, which isn't something we really thought about when we were thinking about this funding, but it is just great to think about other ways to build community, especially with survivors, because there's so many barriers and isolation.
Well, and
already.
it takes the focus off, what's happening, what was happening at home. You're in a strange place, and maybe now there's a cat to look at, or a dog to look at, or to feed, or to watch play, or just to, I would imagine that would be very therapeutic in some ways.
It really is.
Yeah.
And as Shannon said, it really helped build community in the shelter. And it was, everybody likes pets, everybody likes animals, and it just really drew people together.
So I know you mentioned you're working on some policies and stuff too,
Yes.
so I'm sure some folks might be thinking, what about if you have an allergy or something like that?
Yes, we have thought about that, and yeah, we are working on the policies, and we're going to be hopefully leveraging this money with the additional money that we
That
hope.
was wonderful to hear. That's
There is a
fabulous.
national organization called Red Rover that does give small grants to domestic violence shelters. It was started by someone a survivor, who was in a shelter and felt that this was something that wasn't being addressed, and given it away to do that. So we're hoping to do that. And part of that is they really give us a good outline of what we need to do. We want to be very thoughtful and make sure that we are covering everything, for people that might have allergies or, certain dog breeds, that sort of thing. We want to make sure that they have their shots and that, they're house trained and all those kinds of things. So we want to partner with the Humane Society and hopefully a local vet so that we can have those resources available and use some of this money to, make it a little bit easier for people to bring their pets in. Because they do keep them in their rooms. So, there's different ways we can do this. They do keep it in their rooms. But we also have, thinking long term, maybe of having a kennel or two outside for somebody that may be too large or a breed that is, doesn't work in shelter.
So there's a lot of things to think about.
A lot of things to think about, but it's an exciting time.
It
so I
is.
think we're
It's
really looking
fabulous.
forward to this
Yeah.
and hope that we can, we will be, working this through and partnering with some folks in the community.
Well, it sounds like a great little kickstart to what you wanted to do
yes,
around
exactly.
all of this.
Yes, this makes us
Yeah.
get started, so
Yeah.
we're excited
That's
about
great.
Yeah, and it's new territory because we've never really been able to, as agencies, have money for things like this because everything's been so crisis, and there isn't a lot of funding for pets. So this is really unique and exciting.
fabulous.
Yeah.
We're excited about having dog food and cat food at
Yes,
the shelter
it's
that
gonna
we
be a
can
big
share,
benefit.
things like that,
Yeah.
pet supplies.
So we got a couple minutes left. What if folks wanted to get involved with your organization, volunteer, donate? What other ways can people, get involved and support what you're doing? Not just the pet-friendly shelter, but all of the things that you mentioned at the beginning. What do you need?
Shannon probably can speak to that.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that as an agency that we need holistically. We do a lot of work with survivors. So a lot of the volunteering is doing directly with survivors on hotline or in our drop-in location.
So maybe you could mention the hotline number because I don't think we've mentioned it.
Sure, it's 802-524-6575. That is 24/7.
Okay.
And we also have a business line, 524-8538, where you can call during the business hours, and if you're interested in volunteering, there's many different ways. We have many different options, whether it be helping with public awareness, tabling that we do in the community, or distributing our brochures around,
absolutely.
transporting.
Sorry,
There's
I
lots
cut
of
you
different
off.
ways. Yeah.
Sorry.
Nope, that's
I just
okay.
wanted to make sure we got about less than a minute left. I wanted to make sure we got that number in there.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Any last minute things? I've got a couple seconds left. Any last minute things that you wanted to say that before I cut you off?
Well, I was thinking about the hotline. You don't have to leave any names or identifying information if you first want to start accessing. We can plan safety a lot of different ways. So I don't want that to be a barrier when people are calling to think that they have to give a lot of information that they don't. So,
Okay, that's great.
And we were very grateful to this organization for choosing us for this money. So
Yeah, it's
Thank you for that.
fabulous.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thank you for bringing that forward and nominating your organization. I think you nominated, did
Yes,
you?
we
Yeah.
did.
your organization. So I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you both for being here. It was lovely to talk with you. It always goes way too fast.
Yes, it did go fast.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you, Judy.
100 Women Who Care Franklin County is perfect for you. If you are committed to helping others in our community but stretch for time, you want 100% of your donations to go directly to a charitable organization in Franklin County, and you want to be part of a caring and amazing group of women that are making a difference in our community. Please check out our website for the next meeting date and a quick membership form. And thank you very much for your time.